Ted, one of the interesting things is that you also watched Happy Days.
That's right. You know, I had the surreal experience of when it first came on the air, and I remember Potsy climbing up through Richie's window and coming into the house, and it just reminded me sort of my own sort of childhood, and you know, buddies sort of doing that, and it was just sort of guy sneaking into my sister's room, so you know, my dad. But no, just that sort of experience, that sort of having a fort and all that kind of stuff, and I just loved it. And so I can remember getting home, wanting to get home from high school in time to see it, and I loved it. And then my dad liked it because he said everybody had a Fonzie.
Right.
And
the cool guy.
Yeah, and they had the leather jackets back then, the whole thing. We didn't necessarily, we had, I guess it was the football player for us, or the the best
jock.
Surfer where I grew up, you know. I mean, I was a jock, but there was always that guy. Anyway, I loved the show. And then one day, I just out of the blue, I'd never studied acting, never looked at a script, I didn't have any experience, and I was on the show. So then I was fortunate enough that Happy Days, or I should say Married with Children, I did a guest spot on Married. That's how it works for me, by the way. I do these guest spots, and then
you get the part.
And then they say, you know what, we like him. We like having him around, and maybe we should create something. And that's sort of how it has always happened for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I've been saying, people say for a long time, you know, how can you explain being on all these shows and whatnot? And I'm not a guy who has to be the star. I don't have that. I don't even want to be the star, to be honest with you. I enjoy being under the radar.
Why do you think you enjoy that?
I don't like, per se, all of the rest of the trappings of fame and all of that stuff.
So you can avoid that?
Yeah, and I have just enough that it's fun, you know, where it's never so intrusive that it's a major issue.
Have you seen the trappings of fame affect others around you?
I think what happens is that, and I tell in the past when I've spoken with kids at schools and whatnot, that you have to be careful in life what you are willing to give up to get what you think you want. And things come at a price. And so when I'm basing a decision on something that something I want to do, for example, I will then say, okay, what will this cost me in not monetary ways, but in other ways? And what's the cost here? And if I can afford the cost, for example, I did a show not too long ago, which was in New York, and I spent 3 years commuting every week back and forth to Los Angeles and New York, and it was really difficult on my body and my family, and it was a hard deal. And the show was fantastic. Maybe one of the best things that I've done in my career that I had a lot to do with. It was Hope and Faith with Kelly Ripa and Faith Ward. That was a great experience, but it was very difficult. And so I had to really determine whether or not that would be worth it to me.